What's up guys? Thanks for tuning in to today's video. As you guys can see through the title of the video, I've got a couple of complaints and I've come into some unfortunate situations with my 2010 to 2011 Varam intake. I had nothing against so much the design of it in terms of aesthetics. The only real problem comes with the practicality of it, and one might say the actual design. So if you come over here, you'll notice that, well, I actually have a brand new radiator, and I'll go over that in a separate video, install and my review and my thoughts on that. But for now, let me show you guys a fatal flaw. So there's two hoses, right? There's the one that leads to the reservoir that'll tell you how much fluid you have, and then there's the one that goes directly to the block and the engine. So when I first installed the Varam intake with the OEM one, I believe when I installed it, so it was my bad, I ended up snapping the hose, or I guess the little plug that the hose to the engine hose goes to. So what happened was that I snapped that off, so there was a big hole in the whole radiator, so literally fluid was just flowing out, and I had drained my entire coolant amount in a matter of minutes. So obviously you can't drive a car with that much, with no coolant at all. But now what I'm starting to see is that with aftermarket radiators and even with OEM radiators, what the Varam intake is doing is that it's essentially squeezing in between the AC condenser and the radiator. So that squeezing is essentially giving it pressure to go outward. If you don't install the little brackets, which even then the brackets that they give you, they don't align very well. It's just a very inconvenient and just a very poor design on Varam part. In this case, I have an aftermarket one. So this, where the cap is and the little tubes that the hose would go connected to, it actually pushes it up against the plastic portion of the radiator. So what does that do? It ends up pinching the hoses. You know, in an engine bay, 200 degrees Fahrenheit is not uncommon. So when you have the heat, fluid flowing through, and consistent movement from the engine with plastic, that, I mean, well, I don't even know what this is, like rubber or something like that. I don't even know. That material will just scratch right off and it'll cause a leak. Now, luckily, that pinching is actually preventing just a large amount of fluid that's exiting out. So I'm gonna leave it as that. When I get home, what I'm gonna end up doing is screwing in, because I noticed that for mine, and if you, Bryce, if you can, yeah, for mine, it kind of has like some thread pattern there, so I can actually push it in more, which will grant me that millimeter or so of space, so it won't actually make contact with the Varam intake. So, you know, it may just be a one of a kind type of situation, but I do notice that the Varam intake has that problem where the hoses will start pinching, and you know, if you don't really manage it correctly, it could result in a hose breaking or a piece of the radiator breaking and then having to reinstall the entirely new radiator, which is what happened to me. Aside from that, I haven't had any other problems. You know, the other part of it, the actual box in itself is fine. The car does feel like it's a little smoother when I'm driving it at lower speeds. This thing is specifically designed for the OEM one. It doesn't really account for aftermarket radiators. So if you're gonna go aftermarket, just be aware that you'll have that situation. So, I mean, what you could do, if this little piece right here can screw in, screw it all the way to the end. That way you have some space to account for the hose hitting the intake. Or, which, I don't know, Bryce, what you thought about it. You thought I was crazy, but you can actually maybe cut that little piece out and just make a little bit of room there for the hose to not actually scratch in it, and maybe sand it. That way it won't actually like create a sharp edge, really contradicting what you're trying to do. So that's about it, guys. That's my situation right now. I'm just kind of back and forth with the coolant, the radiator, the cooling system of my car. It's been a consistent love-hate relationship, civil war, whatever you want to call it. And that's pretty much it. I have really no other problems with the intake aside from that. I will keep you guys posted in my next video, which is basically going over my radiator install, which one I picked, and just the process of going with it. And then of course, once I solve that issue, I'll be able to genuinely test out the radiator. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and like this video if you found this informative and entertaining. Go ahead and comment, guys. Let me know in the comment section down below how big of an idiot I am. I'm welcome. This is all a learning experience. And guys, don't forget to subscribe. You know, subscribe to the guy that kills his Camaro accidentally. But guys, the goal for this year is 5,000. We're at 4,140, so we're pretty close. Definitely have some belief in that. But guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.